So throughout 2016, we have here at Röda Sten Konsthall decided to dedicate our exhibition program to interrogate the concept of the Anthropocene. The term Anthropocene suggests that we have entered a new geological era within the planet of the Earth. The Anthropocene is equally a worrying and stirring concept. It informs us that humans, over quite a short period of time, the last maybe 200 years only, have managed to alter Earth's ecological systems to a large extent. It leaves a great deal of environmental uncertainties for our next generations. But at the same time, it's also exciting to imagine where humanity will be heading next. So in this exhibition, Surfacing Earth, we will look at how we perceive the notion of landscape in a time where man no longer stands outside of nature, but is increasingly involved in the planet's ecological development. So some of the central questions that we are addressing in this theme is, well, first of all, accept that we are in this new geological era, the Anthropocene, it's here, but what does it actually mean for us to exist in an epoch dominated by humans? How do we adjust our environments, our landscapes, our cities and social communities in the face of this current ecological crisis? And you wonder whether we have made Earth a better or worse place for us to live. And then a pivotal question is, of course, what role can contemporary art play in the course of learning from the Anthropocene? So, Surfacing Earth is the second exhibition that we are presenting within this topic of the Anthropocene. In this exhibition, we have invited 9 artists and artist groups to show both older and newer works that somehow correspond to the rapidly changing landscapes caused by man in the Anthropocene. So in this epoch of the Anthropocene, humanity is living within radically transformed landscapes. As these, or you can say that the classic demarcations between culture and nature have dissolved into many different perspectives, and new configurations of landscapes are emerging and appearing. And these configurations are not least caused by the global climate change. So we are in a situation, in a time, where nature, man, and technology simply have become these overlapping entities. They're different to sort of divide between each other. And this fact creates profound challenges for humanity and forces them to move towards new and modified states of being. So the artists in the exhibition, they negotiate these challenges by applying either poetic, performative, scientific, and even humoristic approaches to their work. For example, the audience is invited to imagine themselves inside the matter of a mountain, or to witness the heroic gesture of rescuing snow from melting, or saving an island from floating away, to trying to understand the Amazon rainforest as a living subject with legal rights of its own. So one of the biggest pieces in the exhibition is created by Osaka-based artist Onishi Yasuaki, and it's a piece called Reverse of Volume, which is hanging centrally in the cathedral space. Using very simple materials such as transparent plastic, black glue, and nylon thread, Onishi creates these monumental sculptural installations that seem to be floating very delicately in space, sort of like a hollow volume. This piece that we are showing here, he has created site-specifically for Röda Sten, and he's been working on it for 2 weeks straight to finish the installation. At first glance, it really appears, or the sculpture appears, like this suspended glowing mass where it's difficult to define the depth of it when you look at it. But when you walk around it, you realize you can actually enter it. There's this airy opening, and when you step underneath the structure, it's like stepping into an inner sanctum or cave-like chamber. The artist calls this process for casting the invisible. And he says that for him, this process of reversing sculpture is a meditation of the nature of the negative space or the voids that we leave behind us in landscape. Another piece installed in the cathedral space is the work Drowning Room by the American-Irish artist group Reynolds and Patrick Jolley. The piece is from 2000. The artists have actually also called their piece an underwater soap opera, which is quite funny because it shows this seemingly ordinary family going about their daily businesses in a house, but the house is completely covered with water. So the family members continue their activities the best way they can, somehow ignoring the obstacles of the water. So they sit and have a dinner, they shovel the fish into their mouth, they have these tiny particles that look like plankton around their mouth, they're reading their newspaper and they're petting their cat as if everything is perfectly normal, and then they go to sleep. So these people in this house seem to exist in a state of suspended animation, perhaps thinking that if they pretend the water isn't there, then it won't drown them. Because I Can Swim in the Immense is a new installation by Ferdinand Krag, produced specifically for the exhibition. It consists of 2 large-scale drawings. The title of the installation, Because I Can Swim in the Immense, is taken from a chant or poem written by a Mexican shamanistic healer. What interests Krag in the shamanistic healing rituals and practices is the simplistic approach of reconnecting the human subconscious with the energies of nature to reach an understanding of nature's general cosmic order. Using the Californian desert as a recurring reference in her practice, Norwegian artist Tiril Hasselknippe is very preoccupied with the relations in the desert between these contrasting elements of sand and water. For Surfacing Earth, she has produced 3 new sculptures called Balcony, and they are made of sand and mixed with some sort of synthetic binding material and then cast directly on the floor. The pieces resemble somehow architectural elements that have been hit by disaster. They're scattered, detached, and fragmented, even imploded. So it looks like the sculptures somehow evoke a sense of extermination, as if they were remains of an apocalyptic event. Another piece that you encounter in the cathedral is an installation or project piece by Swedish artist duo Bigert and Bergström. Bigert and Bergström, their work they sort of investigate mankind's desire to control climate, to control weather, and to sort of look upon how our living conditions are changed throughout climate change. So The Freeze is the title of this project that they're presenting here, and it consists of both sculpture, video, photography, and ready-made. And it's basically a documentation of a performance they did last summer in 2015 at the highest mountain peak in Sweden, on the mountain called Kebnekaise. In this performance, Bigert and Bergström sort of designed this really large cloth of or reflective cloth that they, with a helicopter, transported up to the top of Kebnekaise and sort of spread over the very top of the mountain as sort of a gesture to save the ice from melting. It can both be conceived as a humoristic gesture, but actually these transparent cloth is actually used as a preventive method and tool to prevent ice from melting in many places of the world. A little bit on the same theme, trying to rescue something. We have the Italian artist Rosa Barba and a fairly old piece from 2007 called Outwardly from Earth's Center. This is a video piece, a film. It's a fictitious narrative about a society on an unstable piece of land that is in danger of disappearing. And this land is actually a piece of Swedish land. It's the Gotska Sandön, which is located in the Baltic Sea. So it's a tiny island, but apparently, and people on the island, they believe that it is drifting northwards in the rate of 1 meter per year. So this situation requires the population's collective initiative in order to rescue individual survival and allow the society to remain on the island. So what we see in the film is this fictional sequence that shows the residents trying to anchor physically the island with long, thick braided ropes to the bottom of the sea and then sort of pull the island back. And then by both rescuing the geographical location of the island, but also themselves. Danish artist Astrid Myntekær is presenting a newly produced piece, the installation called Nocturne. Nocturne is comprised of the primary components, you can say, of the process of photosynthesis. It's light and water. But it is set in a dark and much more dystopic environment where laser light or unnatural light is projected down on a circular pool of black, oily water. The title Nocturne is also a classical term for a piece of music that is played at dusk and that imitates the sounds of nature, that evokes the night of fall or nightfall. So you can say, in a sense, the work emphasizes the disappearance of natural light, which is the prerequisite for any organic life to occur. On the third floor, we have a new piece, Forest Law, a video work created by Swiss artist Ursula Biemann and Brazilian urbanist Paulo Tavares. Forest Law is this collaborative project that draws from research carried out by the pair in the oil and mining frontier of the Ecuadorian Amazon rainforest, one of the most diverse and mineral-rich regions in the earth, actually. And since the 60s, this region has been under constant pressure from large-scale extraction activities, sort of extracting oil and minerals from the ground. At the heart of the forest law is a series of landmark legal cases that brings the forest to court and plead for the rights of nature. One particular trial case that has recently been won by the indigenous people of the Sarayaku tribe is based on the cosmology of the living forest. The film brings together the collection of many personal testimonies and factual evidence that exposes to us the multiple dimensions of the tropical forest as a physical, legal, and cosmological entity. Closing the exhibition on the fourth floor is a piece by Danish artist Marie Kølbæk Iversen called Slide. Slide is an installation composed of a slice of black opal mineral placed in a gobo projector and projected onto the wall like a DS projection, where the image looks like a yellow planet. The amazing thing about this piece is that it has this built-in optical illusion from a human perspective, you can say. Because the opal as a mineral is an amorphous mineral, which means that unlike most other solid minerals, it is in constant flux. So it's constantly changing towards another state of materiality. In this way, you can say that the work is a moving image, but on a very different time scale that does not allow us human beings to detect the movement. This information leaves us surprised, maybe, as a viewer, because we tend to consider stone as a geological, solid and static material, but it can also be something else. The piece displays a sense of the prehistoric world that is not reduced to ideals or pure gestalts. Ultimately, I think you can say, by compiling these 9 artists and artist group in this exhibition, that Surfacing Earth seeks to provoke a new imaginative understanding of how we can, both on an emotional, central, and also aesthetic level, can relate to the transformed landscapes of the Anthropocene.